ministers, ladies and gentlemen, please come a bit closer to the stage. Don't be afraid to come closer to the stage. It's time for me to welcome Prime Minister Joseph Muscat.
Okay, so I welcome the Prime Minister, Dr. Joseph Muscat, who will be dining with us tonight. But first, he must earn his dinner. Okay, so Dr. Muscat.
There's nothing like a free meal, isn't it? So, dear friends, welcome to Malta, a new Malta, a Malta that is working hard to embrace diversity, promote equality, and fight against discrimination at every turn. Recently, I was a guest at a wedding in which one half of the couple was transgender. What I witnessed was a day full of love and joy. It was a special day for the happy couple, and indeed for the country, the first. And everything made it all more special. Isn't this the sort of society we should all strive for? We have a choice. We can question, judge, condemn, or even hate. Or we can accept, embrace, celebrate, and love. I know what side of the argument I am on and you are on. And I think I can judge you quite well on this. Thank you for agreeing with us on the direction that our country is taking. It has been also our pleasure to work with the Swedish government to co-organize this event and to ensure that all of you made it here. It is very encouraging to see so many of you and so many government representatives and civil society representatives here with us tonight. Here in Malta, the government is progressing with the agenda of equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and intersex people. We have campaigned vigorously for equality at the general elections, and mind you, that wasn't easy in this country. And now, in office, we are delivering our promises. Ours is a politics of conviction. Government is working in partnership with those who have been victims of discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation and gender identity, that is, LGBTI people themselves. We want the policies and laws that we adopt to be built on real needs and to improve the quality of life of all the people. Soon after coming to office, we set up a consultative council composed of LGBTI community representatives, empowering them to make legislative and policy proposals. We changed, in fact, the civil code to allow trans persons to marry. We have just introduced civil unions on par with marriage for same-sex and different-sex couples alike, extending the right to adopt children from single gays to gay couples as well. On the evening of the vote, outside Parliament, the place was all lit up with rainbow colors and hundreds of people danced in the square. If you were to ask me how many of the people dancing and celebrating were gay or straight, I couldn't tell you really. All I saw were many honest, happy, Maltese people celebrating an advance in human rights. Our country also introduced unanimously this time round an amendment to the Constitution to include protection on the grounds of sexual orientation and gender identity. We are proud that we may well be the first country in the world to have an expressed reference to gender identity in our Constitution. That vote was unanimous. That vote was unanimous, and this augurs well, I hope, for the next piece of legislation we will be proposing. Elena will be proposing a gender identity bill. While Malta and other countries have been progressing, some countries, even in Europe, have taken a step backward, introducing anti-propaganda laws that stigmatize individuals and give legitimacy to discrimination and assault. The Rainbow Index that judges how countries are performing suggests that the European average on the measure of legal protection is still very low, astonishingly at only 36%. The average for countries in the European Union is 46%, still below the halfway mark. I'm pleased to say that the fastest climbers in the past year were Malta, up 22%, and Montenegro, up 20%. Progress can really happen quickly if there is the will. It is only right that I thank now the Malta gay rights movement for its fantastic efforts, not just in the past year, but in laying the groundwork during the past decade or so. And I thank also the LGBT Council for all the work it has carried out so that we are here today as a country celebrating new rights for our citizens. I do hope that these developments here in Malta will be noted by other political leaders, not only in Europe, but in the Mediterranean too. The principle of universality of human rights and non-discrimination should not be sacrificed because of long-standing cultural, traditional, or religious reasons, especially in this part of the world. While most Maltese identify themselves as Catholics, people here are championing the change that government is bringing about because love and understanding are their values, irrespective of their religion. It is up to us politicians to lead by example and not to be led by prejudice. Small things count. Prince William and Kate, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, placed their child, Prince George, in a childcare centre on a visit to New Zealand very recently. This was a playgroup that included a child with gay fathers. We shouldn't be surprised this, given the work that Prince William's late mother did in tackling taboos around AIDS in the 80s and the 90s. Leading by example is good. And let's face it, simple gestures are just as important as tomes of legislation. They send a very powerful message. Here in Europe, we must all work together. The declaration of intent that Sweden and Malta are proposing this year is an important step forward. We believe that the governments need to declare their intention to work explicitly for LGBTI equality loudly and clearly. Part-time commitment or a la carte commitment is not good enough. We must work around the clock to further equality and human rights. As a co-sponsor, Malta will of course be signing this declaration of intent. From now on, we will be referring it regularly in our policy making. I hope that this meeting will enhance cooperation amongst governments and with civil society, thus strengthening the fight against homophobia and transphobia. This event is ultimately about Europe, the Europe we all aspire to live in. Having so many countries represented, especially and also at ministerial level, augurs well for what we are trying to achieve. We need to stamp out homophobia and transphobia once and for all. Such a goal cannot be achieved easily. We must work together. I've heard people say that lesbians, gays, and transgender people shouldn't be given any special rights. I have to agree with them. They don't. You don't deserve special rights. You deserve exactly the same rights as anybody else has. Here in Malta, we are building a better place. I am certain of that. And to other countries, I say, let's throw away our prejudice. You'll be surprised at how good that feels. Thank you very much. Let's move the way so that we can feed the crowd.